Amen. Don't look at your neighbor, just nudge them and say it wasn't that long ago. Why am I? Why am I? Luke chapter 15, verses 17 through 20. I'll be reading from the NIV version. Amen. It says there, when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired men have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men. So he got up and went to his father. I want to preach just a little while with your prayers from the subject, stop being ghetto fabulous. Look at your neighbor next to you and say, neighbor, oh neighbor, stop being ghetto fabulous. Look on the other side to us, say, I know that's right. Amen. Amen. Stop being ghetto fabulous. Amen. Emanating out of an ignorant and incoherent generation, from asphalt alleyways comes the glorification of ghetto living and a ghetto lifestyle. You understand that the Bible is eminently correct that our people are dying from a lack of knowledge. Because ghettos were popularized not by Def Jam Records or So-So Def, but rather and instead in 1939 by Adolf Hitler. It was in fact in 1939 in which it was his attempt to wipe out Jews from the face of the earth that he placed them in ghetto tenements. You all understand that these ghetto dwellings were walled in and were known for poor health conditions, known for a lack of sanitary services. They were known for an absence of education. Isn't it strange then that when the New Deal found itself here on the rustic shores of these United States of America, that they were born and built under the flagship of public housing, but later transformed into ghettos? It ought to be duly noted for our generation that for us to declare that anything is ghetto fabulous is oxymoronic in nature. Because I don't understand how anything that's ghetto can be fabulous. Because you do understand in its original intent and diabolical design that it served as the last step before annihilation. It was ghettos that were the place in which Jews were placed before they entered into death camps and incinerators. And so for us to now declare that things are ghetto fabulous is not sensible at all. To talk about our young people playing amongst dirty needles and broken glass, there's no way that can be ghetto fabulous. When you understand that most of our young people who attend ghetto public schools are reading 2 to 4 grades below their reading level, with teachers who have no real training experience, who don't understand that they are more often than not that they are right brain as opposed to left brain, so that they cannot digest a Eurocentric value of learning, but rather and instead need a larger, more creative dichotomy so that their minds could be able to digest and develop. I don't understand how it is that we can say anything that's ghetto is fabulous, when you do understand that drug addiction is the score of the day, that our government is able to land a satellite in space, yet they are unable to tell where the crack house is. I don't understand how anything can be ghetto and fabulous. But you do understand that it is a part of a mind frame and a mentality. that has coerced us and shampooed us into believing that we are in a brainwash condition. It was Booker T. Washington who said, once you have their minds, you don't have to tell them to go to the back door. They will find it or build one. And so here we are where we've made progress, so much so where we are financially developed, where we are politically advanced, where we are spiritually astute, yet we are mentally incarcerated because we still find ourselves in a place that we're believing that we're ghetto and fabulous. You do understand, for the generation in which I am tenured and a part, that this process began with the show called Good Times. And even in the litany of its opening song, temporary layoffs, good times. Easy credit ripoff, good times. Scratching and surviving, good times. Hanging in a chow line, good times. I don't know how we lucky we got them, but isn't it a sad shame and state of affairs that we believe that all of the aforementioned are good times? I would go with you half of the way to believe that being ghetto fabulous is our badge and our merit of honor, until one day I watched a long lost episode of MTV Cribs. And on MTV Cribs, I noted Russell Simmons, who is the founder and proprietor of Fat Farm and Fat Farm Enterprises, who's living in a 3-story condominium complex in Manhattan, New York, overlooking Central Park, in which his estate is worth over $29 million. I had to ask myself, if he's so ghetto fabulous, why is it that he didn't stay in Queens? After they left Russell Simmons, they went now to a gentleman by the name of Master P, who's living in a sprawling estate with marble glass and a gold ceiling. And all we were able to reiterate is, isn't it wonderful? It's great to be ghetto fabulous with gold teeth when you got a gold ceiling. But when your ceiling is caving in, it's not so ghetto fabulous. After they left Master P, they went now to a gentleman by the name of Jermaine Dupri. And Jermaine Dupri, granddaddy, has more sports cars than Atlanta has public modes of transportation. And what it is that I was able to deduce is those that celebrate and apply ghetto living and a ghetto lifestyle, as soon as they get one platinum album, move out of the hood. Something is intrinsically wrong to say that the badge of my blackness is based off of me being in the hood, let alone once God elevates me from the hood, I still have a frozen concept of believing I still belong to the hood. Let me see if I can help you here. Then a couple of months ago, not too long ago, I had the opportunity to pick up a copy of SoundScan magazine. And in SoundScan magazine, I noted that 87% of those that are consumers of hip hop and R&B music are white suburban youth between the ages of 14 and 17. Now I then have to consider and conclude that the car that Jermaine Dupri is driving, that the house that Russell Simmons is living in, that the mansion that Master P sports is all being funded by white young people. That then says to me that they are playing the tune of the ones who are paying the cost. And so in being ghetto fabulous equates then unequivocally to be a sellout. That in order for me to be digested in a larger urban market economy, then I have to sing where white people are comfortable, knowing we're glad to be ghetto fabulous. Okay, I can see you're uncomfortable. Let me preach it anyway. And so where we find ourselves now is nothing more than millennium sharecropping, while we own our own record labels and still don't own the distribution. I know I'm preaching. We got to get to the place where, do I really want to be ghetto fabulous, to be a modern day MTV Amos and Andy, where I'm waiting on little Billy and little Johnny to say what it is I speak is applaudable and digestible, but as soon as I speak something that uplifts the consciousness of people who look like me, I can't get a contract, I can't get no radio time, but you with your silly self are buying that music for your children in your home, not knowing that it is not ghetto fabulous, but it's Afrocentric disgusting. And once you get an idea of who you are and whose you are, ain't no way you're going to allow your child to listen to music that talks about black women universally as guardians, as farming equipment, and female dogs. Because mama, you have worked too hard to put food on the table and clothes on the back for them to call you all outside your name. Ain't no way you're going to allow your child to talk about they a pimp, a player, and a hustler, and they still living in your house at 32 years of age. That's not ghetto fabulous.